All right, here's the full, expanded version of your story, written in a rich, emotional, dreamlike style that follows everything from the beginning through the pain, surgery, and into recovery, and the first time Dr. Cozy's brother visits you. It feels like a long, cinematic memory, half real, half dream. Everything changed. The night was cold and cruel. I was standing outside on the street, my bag ripped open, clothes spilling out into the gutter. My mother's voice still echoed behind the closed door, full of anger, full of hate. When the door slammed, silence fell. I was alone. The wind stung my skin, the air heavy with the smell of rain and dirt. My stomach twisted, my knees weak. I wrapped my arms around myself and took a few steps down the sidewalk, but the world felt like it was spinning. I was sick, so sick. My body ached. Every breath came out as a shaky whisper of pain. Please, I whispered into the dark. Someone, help me. People passed by, blurred faces under dim streetlights. Some looked at me, most didn't. Their eyes slid away like I was invisible. I tried to scream for help, but my throat burned and only a broken sound came out. Then, from behind me, a calm voice spoke. Hey, are you okay? I turned slowly. A man knelt beside me, his eyes gentle and full of worry. I tried to speak, but the words barely came out. No, I whispered. Stay with me, he said urgently. His voice cracked with fear now. Hey, stay awake. Don't close your eyes, okay? The last thing I saw was his face, blurred and trembling, before everything turned black. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed, bright white light above me, beeping, the steady rhythm of a heart monitor beside me. My arms and stomach hurt. It felt like every part of me had been pulled apart and stitched back together. A nurse entered, moving quietly. Don't try to talk, okay? She said gently, adjusting the blanket over me. Her voice was soft, like she'd done this 100 times. A moment later, a doctor walked in, calm, kind eyes behind her glasses. Hey, she said softly, my name is Dr. Cozy. I flinched slightly, fear crawling up my throat. The machine started to beep faster, my heart racing. Relax, Dr. Cozy said quickly, raising her hands a little. You're safe now. You're in a hospital. You're going to be okay, I promise. I blinked, confused and dizzy. She continued carefully. The man who found you, he's my brother. He saved your life. And, she smiled faintly, he wants to adopt you. Tears formed in my eyes before I even realized it. Dr. Cozy smiled gently. If you want him to, give me a thumbs up. My hand trembled as I slowly lifted it. My thumb rose shakily into the air. Good, she said, her voice full of warmth. That's very good. Get some rest. I'll be back soon. When she came back, she wasn't smiling. She was talking quietly with the nurse, both of their faces tight with worry. I could only hear pieces of what they said. Then, suddenly, pain, sharp, unbearable, tore through my stomach. It hurts! I screamed, the sound echoing through the sterile room. Dr. Cozy and the nurses rushed toward me. You have a rare illness, she said quickly, pressing buttons, checking the monitor. We need to operate, now. The room filled with people, voices overlapping, machines whirring. I felt the bed move, wheels under me, rolling fast through the hall. The ceiling lights flickered above, one after another. A nurse leaned over me, whispering, everything's going to be okay. Then the white double doors opened. The smell of sterile metal and cold air filled my nose. I was lifted onto another bed. A nurse held my hand. This will help with the pain, she said softly. Then darkness. A sharp light hit my eyes. My throat was dry. My chest felt tight. I blinked slowly, trying to move, but something tugged against my skin. Tubes. Clear, thin tubes ran in and out of my stomach, glowing faintly under the light. I whimpered, unable to stop the tears. Dr. Cozy was there again, her voice calm. What's wrong? I don't feel good, I whispered, barely forming the words. She nodded and told a nurse, mask now. The nurse placed a soft oxygen mask over my face. Just breathe, Dr. Cozy said gently, her voice like a melody through the haze. In and out. You're okay. The sound of her voice was the last thing I heard before I fell back asleep. When I woke again, the room was quiet. The nurse was there, dressed in a full gown, her face hidden by a mask and shield. The tubes still ran from the machine into my stomach, the clear liquid slowly dripping through. Just breathe, she said softly as she checked the lines. You're doing good. My throat ached. She noticed immediately and poured some water into a small cup. Here, she said, lifting it carefully to my lips. Small sips. The water cooled my throat, easing the burn, and for the first time since everything happened, I felt something close to peace. Hours later, the door opened quietly. A man stepped in, the same man who had found me on the street. His face was tired but gentle. His eyes softened when he saw me awake. "Hey," he said quietly, "you gave us a scare." I tried to smile, but tears came instead. He sat down beside me, careful not to disturb the tubes or the wires. "You don't have to talk," he said softly. "You're safe now, okay? You're not going back there. I promise." My vision blurred again, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was from relief. He reached out his hand slowly, and I placed mine in his. His hand was warm, steady, real. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice cracking. "Thank you for not giving up on me." He smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Never," he said. "We don't give up on family." My body began to heal, even though the pain still came and went like waves. The nurses started to smile when they saw me awake. Dr. Cozy would stop by often, checking my charts, teasing her brother that I was her new favorite patient. And slowly, the fear faded. The tubes were removed one by one. I could sit up again, eat soft food, look out the window. The sunlight felt warm against my skin, gentle, golden, real. For the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel invisible anymore. Would you like me to continue it, to show what life is like after you leave the hospital and begin living with Dr. Cozy's brother? I can make it calm and emotional, or dreamlike and mysterious like your other stories. Perfect. Here's the next part of your story, continuing right after you leave the hospital. It keeps that soft, dreamlike tone, a mix of healing, emotion, and the strange quiet of new beginnings. Part 2. The House of Quiet Light. The day I left the hospital, the air felt strange, too clean, too open. The nurse wheeled me through the long white halls, the sound of my IV stand clicking softly with each turn. The automatic doors opened, and sunlight poured in through the glass like something alive. Dr. Cozy was waiting near the front desk, her white coat gone, dressed in soft gray. She smiled when she saw me. "Ready?" she asked gently. I nodded. My voice was still weak, but I managed to whisper, "Yeah." Her brother, the man who had found me, stood nearby, holding a folded blanket and a small paper bag of medicine. He smiled, though his eyes looked misty. "Let's go home," he said. Home. The word felt unreal, like something I had dreamed of but never touched. The car ride was quiet. Trees passed by in slow motion, sunlight flickering between the leaves. I rested my head against the window, the gentle hum of the engine lulling me halfway to sleep. When we reached the house, it wasn't what I expected. Not a big, loud place, but a small, peaceful one. A white house with flowers along the porch, the faint sound of wind chimes singing in the breeze. He helped me out carefully, one hand steady on my shoulder. "Take your time," he said softly. "No rush." Inside, the house smelled like fresh bread and lavender. A fireplace glowed faintly in the living room. There were framed pictures on the walls, people smiling, laughing, real warmth. "This room's yours," Dr. Cozy said, opening a door. The room was soft blue, the bed neatly made, sunlight spilling across the floor. A vase with fresh daisies sat on the nightstand. "It's beautiful," I whispered. Her brother smiled. "You deserve something beautiful." I felt tears start again, but this time they didn't hurt. That night I couldn't sleep at first. I lay under the blanket, staring at the ceiling. Every little sound, the creak of wood, the hum of the night, reminded me of everything that had happened. The pain, the hospital, my mother's voice, the darkness. Then I heard footsteps. A knock, soft as a whisper. "Hey," Dr. Cozy's brother said from the doorway. "Can't sleep?" I shook my head. He stepped closer, setting down a mug of warm milk on the nightstand. "You're safe here. You don't have to be afraid anymore." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to. He looked at me for a moment, then smiled softly. "Good night, kid." When the door closed, I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. For the first time in a long, long while, I slept without pain. Days turned into weeks. The color started coming back to my skin. My appetite returned. Dr. Cozy would check on me every morning, sometimes teasing me about the number of pillows I used. Her brother, I learned his name was Eli, would make breakfast, humming softly as he cooked. Sometimes I'd sit outside on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, just watching the sky. The air smelled like rain and pine. It felt different, calm, safe. One evening, I asked quietly, "Why did you stop from me?" You didn't even know me. Eli paused, looking out toward the fading sun. Because no one should ever be left behind, he said simply. And because you looked like you still had something worth fighting for. I looked down, my throat tightening. You really mean that? He smiled gently. Every word. That night, I dreamed again. Of the hospital lights, the cold, the pain. But this time, the dream ended differently. The white doors opened, and instead of darkness, there was warm light waiting beyond them. And standing there were Dr. Cozy and Eli, both smiling. Come on, they said. You're home now. When I woke up, sunlight was spilling across the bed again, the soft sound of birds echoing through the open window. I smiled for real this time.